in Portland for a year now, and it's crazy that it has been this long since I moved from San Francisco, California, all the way to a new state here in Oregon. So over the year, I have basically gotten settled, and it's crazy that it's been that long. So in this video, I just wanted to talk a little bit more about my 1 year update living in Portland, Oregon. I wanted to share my thoughts, let you know how I'm feeling, do I plan on staying, and more. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Ilana. I am living in Portland, Oregon, navigating life and dating, and basically I'm here just sharing my journey. So if you're thinking about moving to Portland, or maybe you're just single navigating the dating world, go ahead and subscribe down below because I think you'll like it here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this journey. So last year, I made 2 different videos where I talked about the pros and cons of living in Portland and kind of comparing it to San Francisco. And then I also gave you guys a 2-month update on how I was doing in Portland. I had talked a little bit more about like my living situation, my dating situation, my job situation, my social life, all of that good stuff, letting you know how I was adjusting. And that video pretty much had a lot of positive things to say, but I've been here for a whole year, so I thought what I would do is kind of go down every single month of how I was feeling during that time and just kind of what I was going through and if Portland's a good place for me to live or not. It all started basically the end of January. I have been here for pretty much a year and a week now. I moved here January 30th, 2021 from San Francisco, which was a very hard move for me to do because I didn't want to leave California. So I only had a whole weekend just to get settled because I was starting a new job the following Monday. So it was very hard for me to even really enjoy Portland. I didn't get a lot of time to really experience Portland until after I completed my first week of work. So you can probably guess that my move here was very chaotic, very busy, very stressful, and very expensive because there was a lot of spending that I had to do. But I was in this cute little house in St. John's. I was living with one other girl. She was super sweet. We had this whole 4-bedroom house to ourselves, and we didn't have to cover the 2 empty rooms, which was really great. So it was nice just having this house to ourselves in a really great area, and that living situation was really awesome. I mean, I got along with her really well. I haven't talked to her since we've parted ways from moving, but I wish her well. I hope she's doing the best because she's the shit, and I hope she's watching this, and I hope she knows how awesome she is. So I literally started a new job right on the 1st of February, which was literally 2 days after I moved to Portland. So I started dating towards the end of February. I went out with 2 different guys, and neither of those worked out. I mean, after the first guy that I met, I knew that I didn't want to see him again. And then the second guy that I met was one that I talked to for about a little over a month, and he projected a lot of insecurities onto me, which is why it pretty much didn't end up working. But it was nice because I was able to kind of easily make my way into dating, and I was noticing that the guys here were a lot nicer than they were in San Francisco, but they definitely aren't as like, I want to say just like put together like I want them to be, because they were more put together in San Francisco. And I'm not talking about like social class. I don't care if a man has money and he's rich, but I just do notice that a lot of these guys in Portland just don't seem to really like take care of themselves. A lot of the guys here tend to have some deadbeat energy to them, and it's not really attractive. But besides that, dating started to kind of pick up maybe a month into once I got settled. And then of course, within my first month, I was just living my life in Portland. I mean, I was eating my way through Portland, I was shopping, I was exploring new neighborhoods, trying to see what this city was all about. I also started going back to therapy, and that was really important because I was still struggling with mental health and like other things because my anxiety was still really bad. And then I started eventually getting on medication, and that was becoming a little bit more helpful for me at the time. And also, I colored my hair with a fashion color. Originally, I oil slicked my hair, if you remember that. A lot of women in Portland tend to have like fashion colors in their hair, and I was kind of feeling left out. So I wanted to put color in my hair, and I don't think I can go back to just one color of like a natural color. I am gonna be dyeing my roots jet black for this weekend because I do miss having some dark roots, but the purple is still gonna stay on the ends. So I am excited to kind of have a little bit of dark hair, but I know like if I completely go back to a dark color, I'm no longer gonna get compliments on my hair, and let me tell you, I get tons of compliments on my hair. So it's really cool that people are so accepting of having fun colored hair in the city, and that's really cool and something that I really like a lot. March, I started to pick up a little bit more of a social life. There were some girls that I knew from my high school youth group that were out here that I started hanging out with. And so that was a great way for me to start building that social life and making friends and not feeling so lonely about being in a new city. I also ended up getting more into metaphysical stuff. I mean, I was always into metaphysical stuff, but I really wanted to really tune into it more on my spiritual side because I wanted to embrace that more because it was a really good thing for my mental health. And one thing that I've like noticed about Portland is that it's very metaphysical friendly here. There's tons of metaphysical shops here. I feel like almost every person that I've met here is into astrology in some sort of component, or they like tarot, or they like crystals, or anything else that maybe involves like meditation or maybe chakra stuff. That's really cool and that excites me, and I love meeting people who have same interests as me. And that was something that I didn't really get in San Francisco. So that was another thing that I really noticed and picked up on when I moved to Portland, and I absolutely love that. So in April, after I ended things with that lame dude, I started drinking my way through Portland in terms of coffee. Portland is really well known for their coffees and their pubs, and I love that scene. I will say April was a bit of a dead social life for me, and I didn't feel really lonely about it for some reason. Even though I've been by myself through most of my time in Portland, it's never really felt lonely, which has been really interesting. I was also noticing that like the quality of my life was starting to improve, mostly because Portland's a lot cheaper and more affordable than living in California. I know a lot of people definitely think that living in Portland is expensive, especially if they aren't privileged like me, where I do have a remote tech job, which allows me to live comfortably in the city. So I do feel pretty privileged compared to some other folks here. But I will say it's nice to be able to just breathe and have a better quality of life and start being able to pay off my debt, and hopefully soon being able to save money to hopefully buy a house. That would be very ideal for me. May was a big month for me. I remember when I found out that I had to move out of my cute little house and I had to start looking for a new place to live. I mean, I moved into this awesome studio apartment that I absolutely love, and well, I just renewed my lease. So if that answers your question, Ilana, are you staying in Portland? The answer is yes, I'm staying for at least another year because I just signed my lease and I got a really great deal on this studio. And I'm saving a lot of money if I were paying it without this rental concession, which has been such a lifesaver for me. But also in May, I started hating the job that I started back in February. It was just something where I realized like I wasn't really getting along with the people that I was working with, except for the people in the people department, but I wasn't really getting along with anyone else, especially hiring managers, and I really just didn't care about what my company was doing, and so that was starting to take a toll on my mental health. And I also started to gain weight, especially due to my medication where I started taking Zoloft, and that was definitely something that really emotionally triggered me. And I didn't like that I was gaining more weight than what I wanted. But other cool things that happened during the month of May, I mean, I had 2 friends that came to visit me and I got to explore more of Oregon finally. I hadn't really ventured out of Portland, so I got to go to the coast and do a lot of hikes and visit the beach, even though it wasn't really beach weather. And then I also got to explore the Mount Hood area and venture over there with my friends. And that was such a great time. And I'm glad that I got to see more and more of Oregon, because Oregon is a really cool state with a lot of stuff to do. Also, the rain started to taper off in May, so that was really nice. And I also hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which was another really exciting thing. And I definitely think that moving to Portland played a role in that, because I got a lot of new Portland and Pacific Northwest subscribers coming to my channel ever since I moved, and that was really special to me. June was pretty uneventful, other than me still hating my job and being miserable where I was working. I was really enjoying living alone, and I was definitely excited about planning my apartment. Obviously, it was a very slow process, but I had a lot of fun doing that. And then also we got a really crazy heat wave where it was basically like 111 degrees, no joke, it actually was that hot. And the Pacific Northwest has never dealt with extreme heat like that before, so that was a bit new for me to experience that kind of extreme weather, but thankfully I have air conditioning, so I was able to manage through it. But unlike most of the city, most places don't have air conditioning in their homes, so again, I was very fortunate enough to not have to struggle through that, but it was still not fun when you had to walk outside. I will say in July, I felt like July was such a magical time of the year. I think summertime in Portland is really magical. The weather is really great. It doesn't really rain a lot in the summer, and we get a lot of dry heat, so it's never like humid or anything, and it's really nice to be able to go out without a jacket, and then even during the night you still don't need a jacket like you would in San Francisco. So that was something that I absolutely loved, and something that I did miss was having warm summers again, because that was something that I never got when I was living in San Francisco. My friend Brian came to visit me, and we also ventured a little bit out of Portland, not too far, but we got to go to Multnomah Falls, which is pretty touristy, but it was still really fun to just explore more of Oregon with a friend. And the fact that people were actually coming to visit me out here. I didn't really think that any of my friends would come visit me in Oregon, but they were, and that was really exciting. And then at the end of July, I quit my job without anything lined up. And basically all of August, I was unemployed, and I was enjoying every single bit of it. So let's get into August. So August was basically about like recharging, and I wanted to just take some time away from work. I mean, I was still interviewing and applying, but I knew I didn't want to start a new job until September. Also in August, I started making more friends within my apartment complex, and that's been really helpful. So it's nice to be in a community building where you have the opportunity to meet people and do fun activities. And that's been a really great way to make friends. So if you ever move to a new city, and if you're able to afford living in like an apartment complex, definitely try that out, because you can meet people in your building, and that's a great way to make friends. So I've been consistently hanging out with 2 people that I've met, and that makes me really happy. So then September rolls around, I start my new job at a company that I really do enjoy working at. I will say work right now is very, very stressful and chaotic. I'm feeling a little burnt out, but not where I want to leave my company. I'm quite happy at my company. It's just a really hard time to be a recruiter right now, but I'm really happy with the decision that I made to leave that job. Also, September is when fall starts. Fall is also super magical in Portland. Oh my god, fall is so beautiful. The foliage that you get in Portland, oh, it's so beautiful. I wish it could look like that all year round. Fall was just so cozy and comfy here. It just made me so happy. I made 2 more friends when I did this haunted pub crawl event, and I've been hanging out with them, and that's been really awesome, and another great way that I just sort of accidentally met people, and I've been able to keep in touch with them. Also, pretty much within the fall, my apartment ended up being finally more put together, especially with my living space, because that was going to be really important for me to get a couch. And I absolutely love how my studio came together, and I have this amazing space of my own that I've created for myself, and it just feels like me, and that's just made me so happy. After I started my new job, I started going back to therapy. I took a couple-month break because I wasn't really connecting with some of the therapists that I was using from another platform. So I started using therapy from another platform, got back on a new anxiety medication because my old medication was making me gain so much weight. So now I'm on Lexapro, and I feel so much better, and I'm not gaining weight from that medication. So that's been like an amazing drug for me overall. But my mental health was still really bad. and it started impacting my workout routine and my diet, and it was still contributing to my weight gain, and that's kind of where things have just gotten really hard for me. But I am trying to slowly work back on that again and being able to find ways to eat better. But besides the point, not very Portland related, but still something that I experienced while living in Portland. In November was interesting. I mean, I got to experience Hanukkah for the first time living in Portland and being alone for that. And I was able to just establish my friendship circle here in Portland. I was able to have a few friends celebrate with me for my 30th birthday, and that was pretty much more than enough friends that I needed while living in Portland, and that was really great. And then we move into December. December is when the holidays came about, and I was able to experience what the holiday season was like in Portland. I will say the holiday season's not as magical in Portland as it is in San Francisco. I definitely prefer the holiday season in San Francisco, but that's okay. And I did get to go to my first Blazers game in December for, I think it was like the 4th or 5th night of Hanukkah, and that was really fun. So I hope to go back to more Blazers games later on this winter because I really like sporting events, and it's really fun to just get out of your apartment and cheer on a local sports team. That's basically just kind of giving you a summary of how I've been doing within this past year of living in Portland. As I mentioned, I did renew my lease at my apartment, and I am gonna stay for another year. I really do miss San Francisco a ton, and it will always be near and dear to my heart, but if I ever want to move back, I still have a long way to go to get my finances together and to still improve my mental health before I can go back to San Francisco. But I will say Portland has been a really great place for me, and even though there are some really bad things about Portland that obviously I don't care for, and I mentioned that in my pros and cons video, it still doesn't bother me or turn me off to this city. It does feel a little bit similar to living in San Francisco, but there are some differences, and obviously I don't live on the coast like I used to when I was living in the Bay Area. But other than that, that's just basically what this whole year has been, and I'm really thankful, and I really don't regret making the move away from California just because I knew I had to do what was best for me to just improve my quality of life. And I really appreciate how I've had so many people say in the comments like, Ilana, I can just tell that you're so much happier and that your mental health and your quality of life is just better in Portland and that you're thriving, and that really means a lot to me. And I want you guys to know that it means a lot to me that you guys are picking up on it and seeing just like how much happier I am. Now, I was never miserable in San Francisco. I was just struggling financially, and I was able to mask those feelings really well. I had to just be honest with myself. Like, I need to be able to get my shit together if I want to mentally be sane while living in California. So with that, I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. If you did get something out of it and you liked it, make sure you do give it a thumbs up. And with that, I will see you in my next video. Bye!